Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Academia. I am Garbage, otherwise known as Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Also garbage. Hello, deplorables, drags, despicables, garbage, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, full-on fascists, maggots, weirdos, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers. Right? I love like going through that like just hours after the famous unity speech. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just it's amazing where we're at now. I mean, we've got about 5 more days before Election Day coming up here, and it is just absolutely nuts.
it is nuts.
And everything like that. Um, all right, before we get to the heart of the show and deal with all these issues that are popping up, including where garbage came from, just brief commentary on the weather's actually been pretty good. We're still dry though.
Yeah, it's getting really dry. It really
Yeah,
hasn't rained here in about 3 weeks, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's
it doesn't.
crisp fall weather. It's beautiful,
I
but
love
man,
it. It's great football weather.
great
Probably great
football
weather for you
weather.
to go out and hit the links too, I guess, when you get a chance. And
Yeah, I've had very little chance lately, but yeah, I've been to some football. That's part of why I haven't played much golf, is I've been to a lot of football. But yeah, it's been good.
yeah, so it's nice, but Mother Nature and rain would be nice too, and everything
Yeah,
like that. And uh, I thought this morning, I thought, it would really be nice if the weather for the next, stayed kind of like this, give or take, all the way through spring, kind of get us past winter, so that we don't really have the harsh winter, because I've complained many times. It's like I'm getting too old for all the snow and the ice. I'd like to be
yep.
able to kind of bypass that. I do like the fact that we live in an area that's got 4 seasons, but the older I get, the more challenging some of these things
The
get.
more one of those seasons start to stick out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, I
I
feel
don't
like I'm
really.
being like thrown in a hole and I can't get out for 6 months, and I'll be trying to climb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially,
So.
the daylight savings time changes Sunday, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, then it's dark all the time. It's dark at 5 o'clock, and
Yeah.
that's tough.
Wasn't it? I mean, before they adjusted the calendar, I mean, wasn't it usually like the first Sunday in April and first Sunday in October, or something? It was
Middle of
always.
October, or whatever. It used to be a
Yeah.
lot, yeah, longer.
It was
I
always
wish
like
it
a
could be
set.
shorter.
Yeah, it was always like a set time every 6 months. I mean, it was always the first or second or whatever, third, fourth, whatever it was. It was always, you could count on it being basically the same Sunday every
Right.
6 months as we switched. After they mucked with it, it moves a little bit. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, this Sunday is going to be what, November
Third.
3rd or something? Yeah. So yeah, it, it's dark enough for me when I go to the gym in the morning at 4:30 or whatever. It's I don't know if I'm going to know much of the difference, except it'll still be dark. But when I get out by 6:30, there's a hint. There's just a little hint of light,
Yeah,
coming, because sunrise usually is about an hour later. You know,
yeah,
after Sunday, that's not going to happen.
yeah. That's right.
So, but anyway, so the weather's been pretty good, and we've been spared from a lot of major things one way or the other. Um, just just some quick overseas notes. I did see an article. I think it was in the Journal, uh, about those North Korean troops, which we discussed last week. They had figured there were 3,000, maybe and up to 12,000 North Korean troops that apparently what North Korea has sent them, at least initially, are young, new conscripts that are not very well trained. So this is not helping Russia that much, because they're not really getting what they need there, except bodies at this point.
Yeah,
Maybe as I don't know if all 12,000 will wind up being that way. Maybe that's what North Korea is doing. It's like, oh yeah, these guys are expendable. We'll send them at this point.
right.
Yeah, so I don't exactly know what's going on over there with that, but so it's not quite. I mean, it's something where Russia has reached out and has gotten this cooperation from North Korea on the one hand. On the other hand, getting untrained troops to join your untrained troops doesn't really move the needle, and they're heading into winter, and it's going to be a slog.
Yeah, one thing is like to stop and think about it. Me and you were born in the United States, grew up here, right? We haven't had to go to war. Hasn't been a war fought on our land really. There's been a couple of attacks and whatnot, but not a war. Uh, think about these guys. So born in North Korea, you're in a dirt poor country that's totalitarian government, blackout totalitarian government. You have no way to move ahead except for kissing up to the government. You're underfed, you're undernourished, you're underworked. No one's trying to get you to live to your potential, and then you're shipped off to fight in this, drudgery of a war that has nothing to do with you. And, you don't even know which side you would be on if you had the capacity to choose a side. And, what an just awful life that these poor guys,
Yeah, and I was looking here, so we're about 3 weeks short of hitting 1,000 days of this war, the slog,
Yeah,
with with no real end in sight at this point in time. I mean,
right.
they're kind of pushing each other back and forth, and Russia seems to have a little bit of advantage here, at times, and uh, but uh, nevertheless, uh, Ukraine is still hanging tough, as tough as they
Yeah,
can, and they do continue to get arms materiel from other countries, NATO countries, to keep supporting their position. So it is just a long slog, and yeah, before you know it, we'll hit the 3-year mark. So
right. And
uh,
I think the thing about it is I think one of the things that Trump has talked about on this is, we got to point this toward ending, right? Whatever the end is going to be, you're just allowing something to stay in place. Ukraine can't move Russia out, right? Russia apparently, without a whole lot more trouble than we want to see them go to, cannot take over. They can't finish the job, so they're kind of hung up, right? And we're keeping, like you say, we're keeping Ukraine in the game above water, but what it would take, what we'd have to give to Ukraine to get them to win the war, right, would probably provoke World War III. So, I mean, it's a dicey thing, and there's not a lot of good. That's why like a disruptor like Trump is good for this situation, because it's going to take ideas that no one is now contemplating.
yeah, I mean, do you think the same thing or something similar plays into the whole Israel situation? I mean, Netanyahu's a pretty tough cookie,
Yeah,
and he's not willing to compromise to what a lot of the liberals say, is going on there. Particularly even our own administration, our current administration. Uh, but I mean, I think a switch of administrations also probably would give another boost to Israel as they, maybe they can make a bigger final push. I don't know.
right. And the Arabs, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Trump had the Arabs and the Jews joined together to isolate Iran, and I think that he would do that in fairly short order once he gets back in.
Yeah. So I mean, these situations, as we get down to the last few days of the campaign, also underscore, the kinds of things, the problems that we've been dealing with the Biden-Harris administration. That we didn't see this kind of turmoil overseas under Trump previously, but we have all these hotspot type of issues. We've got Iran trying to flex their muscles, and all of these things. You can North Korea, by the fact that they've gotten involved here with Russia, you just one thing after another,
Right.
where you just have all these things that are happening
Yeah,
that
weak
probably could,
American leadership. Get cats away, the mouse will play. The mice will play. So
yeah. So this will be something to watch here as we go forward. Uh, so Poly Market. So now they're 2-1 here, 67-33 as of about an hour and a half ago. So lots of money betting that Trump will win. I think I think the stock market is also moving in that frame.
Right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right. I mean, I think that's a great point. Is that well, they'll have spent all this time. There's lots of lives that'll be lost. There's so much destruction going on, and yet we probably will wind up with the status quo more or less. And then
Status quo, with Eastern Ukraine moved into Russia.
yeah, I mean, Russia will gain a little bit of territory. They just won't have
Yeah.
gained. They won't have
And
taken over.
they will have their land bridge to Crimea, to the deep
Yeah,
water port. And I don't know how you stop that.
yeah,
I would work something out with them for it, but and try to get something out of the deal is what I would do. But that's
yeah. But that's still, I think that will have been at the expense of a lot of lives to get that
yeah,
territory.
right.
Yeah.
And a lot of money, a
And a
lot of
lot of
American money.
a lot of
And
American money.
the
Yeah.
lefties like, you don't understand. We're not actually giving them money. We're spending it on American arms makers. I'm like, so now the Democrats are for propping up the arms makers? And I didn't really think I'd live that long. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah, the way the Democrats change and adjust their tune on a lot of these things, you're like, but what? Wait a
You
minute.
can do that. You have no principles or morals or ideals, and you can change to whatever you want.
They're definitely more of just like, which way is the wind blowing? Okay,
Yeah.
this is the way we've got to do this, and they just kind of move with all of that. It's unfortunately, in a lot of the races that we will see, House and Senate and things like that, there will be there are voters who just don't understand that, and they're going to vote
Right.
the party line for them, and yet a lot of that needs to be shaken up, particularly with just some Democrats who just do what you're saying that they're doing at this point. Um, so Atlas Intel, as you
So
said, I mean,
before you go up, go past Polymarket, though, I wanted to say. So one of the things that the Democrats' response to that is that it's program betting, right? That there's somebody or people out there who are cramming a bunch of money into this to make this result happen. It gives permission structure to other voters, right, and so forth. But I mean, if it's a program bet, that means somebody's pretty darn sure of winning it. People, I mean, I make $20. You might make a $20 bet on something you're not sure about. But if you're going to make a $2 million bet or $10 million bet, it's something you've got some insight into how it's going to go. So, I don't.
As I understand it, this is really based on crypto, right? I mean, that it's traded in crypto, largely. So, I mean,
Yeah.
not everybody who's into crypto is a super rich person, but there are a lot of people who've made a lot of money in crypto over the
Right.
years, and the last thing they want to do is lose money.
Right.
They crypto people, they're constantly chasing, and trying to continue to multiply their net worth. So, it's like a lot of other things with, I mean, polls are whatever they are for that moment in time. The thing about Polymarket, is just that it's one of those things that you can watch, and you can watch change hourly, and they have a whole bunch of different things in there. So it's kind of like watching the stock market or a lot of other things that are similar. Betting on people are betting, one way or the other, and the odds are changing constantly. So you are getting a real time, look at where the sentiment is going, at least with that group, rather than, because the regular polls. I mean, it takes time. You got to conduct a poll, gather data, put it all together. You put it out, and it's something that that's going to be at least 2 or 3 days old by the time you ever publish it, and then you got and so it's constantly kind of being out of date. It's not real time. It's for the day that the hours that we spent gathering the data, interviewing the people, but that is a constantly changing thing in an election. So it doesn't give you necessarily the most accurate picture of what's going on at that point in time. I mean, so when we head into to Tuesday, the polls are going to be a couple of days out.
Yeah.
We'll know what they've been surveyed a couple of days before that, or maybe a little bit longer. But that day of, we really don't know until we see the results that
Yeah,
night or
a
the
lot of
next
these
morning.
people now are saying it's their final. People who've been doing daily and weekly polls are putting out their final poll.
Yeah.
So from now until 6 whole days, you'll get some polling information like Rasmussen, people like that. The people who track it daily will keep tracking it daily. But the big hit of polls is basically over, or close to over. And it's landed on, all the trends went his way. I mean, even the ones that didn't take the lead, he decreased the deficit. But most of them, he now, in the overall averages and stuff, he's now pulled ahead. And Trump leading in the popular vote translates to about 320 electoral votes.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And I did see a report somewhere that apparently the Harris campaign has pulled back dramatically their ad buys in North Carolina.
Right. Move the money here to Virginia.
Yeah, and move the money elsewhere. Right. Yeah. So they've shifted their resources, and that's a in campaigns, it's a tell for where they're thinking, like where they need to shore up one area and they're going to try to win it versus
where they think they still have a chance.
yeah,
Looks
they
like
still
they've
have a
given up
chance.
on North Carolina. Looks
Yeah.
like they've given up on Arizona. They're pretty close to giving up on Nevada. So that's three biggies that they kind of, they really need to strike out in all of those. And, it doesn't say. It looks like Michigan is not going to go their way. That seems to be tilting. And you have the Muslim leaders up there endorsing Trump. That's not going their way. Wisconsin's still iffy. Pennsylvania looks like it's heading toward Trump. It looks like they needed to have the Democrats needed to have about a 435,000 vote lead in non-election day voting to cover the difference of what they expected on election day voting, and they got about 180,000 of it. So they're way short, and they know it.
Yeah. So Trump was in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Right. That's right.
And he asked, I think, how many people had voted already, and there was a lot of yells and whoops and everything like that
Yeah.
from people. So, and I think I heard some interviews with people that's they were saying, like, well, that's what the party, they urged us to vote early, and get out there. So I did that. I mean, normally I wouldn't do that. So there are votes that would have been cast on Tuesday that have been cast already, but I think the Republicans have done a better job this time around, in terms of trying to make sure they do get out the vote one way or the other. And you have to. I think they may have realized that the last time, these last elections, they made a mistake by just berating a lot of the mail-in early voting type of things like that, and it hurt them. And this is going to be an interesting election too, right? Because the mail-in ballots should decrease significantly because from
Right.
4 years ago. We were in COVID 4 years ago, where virtually everybody had to do it this way, and so now we're in a situation where we're going back to kind of the norm, though some, people can still vote by mail, they can still vote early, but the people who want to vote in person, they can go and do that. I mean, I voted by mail. I'm just a lazy, SOB at this point in time. And so, my ballots have been cast, and everything like that. But I noticed a friend of mine, I don't know who she voted for, but she and her husband waited in line to vote. And she's from the Philippines, and he's from here, and he's an old friend and I've known this guy. I've known her husband for, like 40 something years. And she just said that, she just didn't trust the mail. And,
I don't think I do either. Especially, I don't know if you've been following any of this, but remember there was the thing. Yeah, that's right. The Arab rally for Trump in Michigan. I mean, stranger things, right? There was a. What were we talking about?
Well, we're doing mail-in balloting and trusting the mail.
There's this case, right, where you remember there was a guy who drove a postal truck who said, "Yeah, I drove a bunch of ballots, filled out ballots from Bethpage, New York to Lancaster, PA, and I got out of my truck, and they said, we got your truck. Get the hell out of here." And I don't know what happened to the stuff that was on my truck, but this is what went on, and they had a bunch of votes to enter into the system to cheat, right? And so everybody, yeah, he's lying, this and that and the other. Democrats poo-pooed it. Well, it's in court now, and it's come out that that's exactly what happened. That they trucked in, that he wasn't the only one. That there were 15 or 20 truckloads. I mean, 18-wheeler tractor trailers full of pre-filled ballots for Biden in Pennsylvania. All went into the Pennsylvania stream. So, Biden probably didn't win Pennsylvania last time, and this time there's not going to be the other thing that happened with COVID is, so there was all these ballots that were not obtained in the normal way, right? They may have been obtained. They're not all obtained illegally, but there was all these mail out and drop off and this and that and the other. And so they were able to just flood the zone with paper. And, it's very hard at that time to sit there and be in all those counting rooms and see whose ballots are identical and pre-filled and all this kind of stuff. So it's now coming out that that's exactly what they did, and that's not available to them this time, right? There's not zillions of people ordering vote by mail. Vote by mail, like you say, is really it's down significantly. It's down more among Democrats than it is Republicans. Republicans are now pushing it a little bit, right? Like you said. So I mean, they're not getting early vote, and they can't overcome election day vote. I mean, they seem to know that, and also it looks like about 20 to 25% of the people who are going to vote for Trump in this election have never voted before. So, with the fear is, as you were talking about, if they all vote early, does that mean that you don't have the punch you usually have at election day? But if you're adding 20 or 25% to your total, then you will have, it'll be, a good early and a good late. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't know all the details about, there's so many stories that came out from 4 years ago about ballots and things like that. And there's no doubt that there were a lot of problems because the country was in a very unique situation. We hadn't experienced anything like this before. And
right.
We just had these massive amounts of, these mail-in ballots. To my friend, I would say, what I did is that, I took mine to the post office and went inside and mailed it inside. Now that still needs to be transported between that post office and the Board of Elections. Okay. But I feel pretty confident that it's going to be fine, that it's not exposed in an outside ballot box. It's not exposed in an outside mailbox. It is now hitting inside where, it's some, and they're not identified by Republican or Democrat ballot anyway on the outside. So that a ballot is a ballot from an envelope standpoint. So you can't tell what it is. So I think the system is okay. I don't know that we have got so, because the states, all have their own voting rules, and we've got 10,000 or more, polling places, kind of thing like that, in terms of, and just all such kinds of sets of rules, trying to count these ballots, fast and accurately, there's no one system that works. Florida's got a great system. Some states have really streamlined their systems, and you get results pretty fast. Other states, it's just horrid. And and I was thinking this morning, I thought, they should, why can't these other states kind of look at the more efficient states and say, what can we do to make ours more efficient and also more secure, than it is today? But I think if you're in the blue state, I'm not sure that the blue state people are all that concerned about it, right? I mean, that's not necessarily, whatever. It works.
I was going to say, you were talking about Maryland. No, why would they cheat in Maryland?
Yeah. There's nothing what's at stake.
What's at stake? That's right.
It's like all of a sudden it's like they're going to try to stuff the ballot box for also Brooks. She's probably going to win anyway, but
Yeah,
it's
but
not. It's not a high stakes game. I mean, Harris will win Maryland easily, so you don't have that much. And I live in the eighth. I'm now in the eighth district. I mean, I lived in two homes in my almost 40 years of marriage, and I have been. I don't know about you, but I have been bounced between so many districts as every time they redistrict. I've had the fourth district, the sixth district, the eighth district. I've
yeah,
gone between them all,
yeah.
and
I've
even like
I've lived here for 10 years, and I've been in two.
yeah.
Been
So
in 10,
even
and
when
now I'm 11.
I was the sixth. I didn't even know I got redistricted to the eighth until I found it. Oh, great, Jimmy Raskin.
Yeah,
His opponent. She doesn't stand a chance. I really wanted a chance to vote for Neil Parrott in the sixth because I
yeah,
voted in the sixth in previous elections, but that's not the way it is right now. I'm now in a Democrat district, so
yeah.
it just
They silenced you. They
yeah,
gerrymandered
they
you.
did. How
They
dare
did.
they?
Yeah, that's right.
How dare they disenfranchise
So
me?
it's the most gerrymandered state. Maryland is.
Yeah, it's just, and the thing is that I consider myself relatively well educated. I try to stay up on politics, but they make these redistricting decisions, and you don't know about it. But it just reminded me of the first time I worked a poll as an adult for a friend of mine, and I was living in the other house in Silver Spring, and he actually brought me up here to this area and right down Redland Road to I think it's a Baptist church or Presbyterian church or whatever. It's on Redland Road, but there was a polling place, and this was when Connie Morella was still in office. So
Right.
it goes way back. I hadn't moved up here, so it has to be it's more than 20 years ago, and I was just a poll watcher. That's all I was just there to observe. And how many of the people came in that's like, where's Connie's name? She had been redistricted, and the swath of people who were not necessarily all that, they're not necessarily all that Republican, here either. There are plenty of liberals that I know, just they wanted to vote for Connie, but they couldn't because she was no longer. It was now Chris Van Hollen that they had,
Yeah.
they were voting for. So it catches people by surprise a lot of times that these redistricting maneuvers happen, and then you get to election day or in the primary, like what happened? When did this happen? When did they change this? Particularly since we see a lot more happening in between. It, it's
By the
not
way,
necessarily.
I gotta tell you this little thing I saw. So the guy who's in DC who's on trial for accepting the bribes, the DC councilman Tony something,
Oh,
his
yeah.
lawyer is Doug Gansler, former state's attorney
Well,
for
that,
Maryland,
that,
Attorney
that,
General of Maryland.
I thought, man, I thought you were going to say it was Robin Ficker. Because I don't know about you, Robin Ficker, bless his soul for a lot of things that he's done for the good in Montgomery County. He winds up getting some very interesting clients, to say the least. I'm like,
Yep.
what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing defending that person? Except if they're paying the bills, I guess it's fine. But
Right,
I'm
and
like,
it's everybody deserves a lawyer.
yeah, everybody deserves a lawyer, but sometimes I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah, I mean, okay, so Doug Gansler was like, you almost never hear the name Doug Gansler, a rising star in Maryland politics. Poof, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Shouldn't have gone to that party.
yeah. So that's what happens. So yeah, so it just things like this happen, but it just seems that we've had more challenges over the last several years all across the country about redistricting, right? The the states, they get the census, and then they work on the state legislature work on redistricting. They draw maps. Governor, if will sign off or fight back, they'll go back and forth a little bit, and they'll get that signed. But now we have all these redistricting commissions, or they'll take it to the Supreme Court in their state, and so sometimes you have these things going on, right, 4 5 6 years later.
Yeah,
You may have had, say you've had the 2022 election under one map, and that should have been the same map going all the way through. It should be a 10-year map. And now sometimes you see that map change once or twice as
Yeah,
these battles
Louisiana,
go.
they're doing that now. They've had changed it twice now. So
Yeah. So that makes my head spin, just to see all those battles go on with this. Uh, so I was going to say so Atlas Intel, who you told me, and was the most accurate pollster, I guess, of 2020, right?
right.
So their prediction is now 296 to 242 for Trump in electoral college vote. So that's good. If they are going to be as accurate there, that's good there. And I know that there's that website 270 to win, and
Mm-hmm.
they still have 93 undecided. They haven't committed to either side. That Harris has got a slight lead on there, but when I look at that map, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think that map is going to they're going as they as if if they update it as they go along here, that map is going to swing more towards Trump. He's barely behind Harris on that particular site, and the states that are remaining, because you mentioned several of them, they go to the Trump column, and then Trump wins hands down
Yeah.
with this. So it's that we have all kinds of information at our fingertips that we can look at to try to sort this out. Uh, and I think as long as Trump stays, neck and neck, really close. If he's at 49, 50%, or just under 50, he still wins.
Yeah.
He still gets the electoral votes that he needs to win. And I don't know. I mean, I look at these rallies too. So Allentown, it was I give Trump credit. I mean, this he mocking poor President Biden with his garbage talk. I'm definitely offended this time, big time, that with Biden's slip up there about calling us garbage, right? Calling Trump
Yeah.
supporters garbage.
Yeah.
And he mocked him and poked fun of him. Marco is up there giving him the information and everything like that. But then you look at the Madison Square Garden event that was just held, and then Kamala's trying to poke a finger in his eye by doing the ellipse speech and
Right.
rally and everything like that. But
She got,
MSNBC.
here's the thing about it. No one's going to ever tell. They got to be a little bit disappointed in the crowd they drew, right? So, there's the guy who goes around, he detects how many cell phones are at these things, right? So he's not actually counting people, he's counting the cell phones, right? There were 98,000 cell phones either in Madison Square Garden or right outside watching on the big screens they set up, right? About 20,000 inside, 78,000 outside. There were 31,000. Let me get this. I want to tell you about this right too. There were 31,000 people at this thing last night on the Ellipse. And I want to tell you these things because there's some really interesting stuff in this data. And let's see, it comes up for me. 31,834 mobile devices. 91% have attended 3 or more Harris rallies. So these are people who, they're not drawing a whole lot of new people. This is, people that have been following them around. Just over 11,000 were from Atlanta, followed by 6,500 from California. And using our Antifa BLM pro-Palestinian overlays, 6,122 were linked to 3 or more Antifa BLM pro-Pally protests and riots.
So whose data is that?
That is from the guy who does it. His name is Tony Saruga, and he's a big data guy. Government contractor.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Trump alluded to that a little bit last night too, right? It's like he said that she had to bus people in for this thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it looks like she bussed in more than half the crowd, and it was a third of what he had at Madison Square Garden on Saturday.
Yeah, that meant, and
Sunday.
Yeah, so and then we had the preliminary attacks on that whole rally from Hillary Clinton right beforehand, the whole bringing up the whole Nazi thing from what 1939 or something like that.
Right.
And
Where
then
they've
and
had
then
two
and then
Democrat conventions there since then, or something
yeah,
like that.
and then you see MSNBC, with their coverage of it, with their chyrons going, it's like, showing the KKK, and all this kind of stuff, and all this is just okay, it's like that the rally that Trump had was nothing like that whatsoever. This is just unbelievable. This is the desperation of the media here. Like they
Yeah.
cannot figure out how to stop the Trump train at this point. They're losing it on this. They can't figure this out, and they've got to try to just demonize this every way you can. My wife watches a
But, but
lot
but
of
then stop and say, "Oh, we're outraged." The guy said something about garbage in Puerto Rico.
yeah.
We're outraged. Can you believe all the hatred from that side? Those fascists, those Nazis, those haters. It's like you're a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
are we doing predictions? We're going to say who do we think's going to
we
win?
will. We will. Yeah, we will. I was just going to say, my wife watches a ton of YouTube stuff. She's gotten really into this election and everything like that, and she just says, when she sees the Harris rallies versus the Trump rallies, just the difference also in the kind of the I love America feel, right?
Yeah, right.
There's just this overwhelming, patriotism from the attendees,
Right. And they're
at
trying
Trump.
to they noticed that, right? And I think they made a conscious choice on the other side, the Harris campaign, to hey, everybody, like the boss walks through, everybody look busy, right? It's everybody look patriotic, right? It's
Yeah,
not something, yeah, look at that's right.
I
Yeah,
like that.
that's right.
Spot
If
on.
you can't, that's the other point. It's like it's not only 96% Democrat city where you're having this, right? But it's also the home of all the pro big government people, right? That's where they all. Where you're right outside their office. It's walking distance for them, and you really drew 30,000, and you had to bus in more than half of them. That's pretty sad. That's actually not a very good job. And they're all like, "Has Trump ever had a crowd this big?" Well, Sunday he had 3 times as many. So and they weren't busted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Trump doesn't need people. Look, my sister-in-law in Arizona, okay, in Mesa, Arizona, and her husband, who just retired this past July, I think it was. They're pretty dyed-in-the-wool Trump people and things like that, but they're not they're not like politically active.
Right.
They're not out campaigning. They're
Right.
not out volunteering and stuff like that. And yet, when Trump was in Arizona recently, my sister-in-law contacts my wife and says, "Hey, guess where we are? Barry and I are, we're waiting in line or whatever for the Trump." They, I mean, this shocked me. Okay, you know, that they waited 5 or 6 hours, you know, beforehand to get in to see Trump. This is amazing. I mean, they
Yeah.
like Trump. They voted for Trump, but they have not been the active political types, and now they're out there, waiting in line. They're not people are not willing to wait 5 or 6 hours to see Kamala. They're not willing to 5 or 6 hours to see Barack Obama or Joe Biden in general. All
Right.
these.
Because the times that that's happened, because you always see on the internet, if they do have people waiting hours in advance, right? What's the thing that's been common with all those appearances? There's been some music act, right? Like
Right,
in Houston, she
Beyonce.
had Beyonce. Apparently, there's another question I have for him. If you're bussing in 11,000 people to this thing here, 6,500 from California, what does that cost? And you're paying her $10 million to talk for 2 minutes, right? She started in late July and they raised $1 billion, or that's what they said. That was their claim. They raised $1 billion since she joined the race in late July, which I have to tip my hat. That's pretty darn good, right? But if you raised $1 billion and you're now desperate for money, then some of your expenditures have to be looked at. And why are we giving Beyonce $10 million to talk for 2 minutes? Isn't she on your side anyway? Right? That was just that's just kind of wasteful. I think some questions are going to get asked when this is all over.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw this video, and I don't even know where it was. I don't know if they wound up putting up on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. But Trump talking about Beyonce, and then it was this whole thing about these women wearing MAGA hats, dancing, kind of doing all this stuff. And I thought this was hilarious. Oh, I guess I saw this on Lefties Losing It from the Australia, from Rita Pani, or whatever. And it's just, she had played that because so it was just like, it was hilarious. I mean, you have this thing with with Trump in the back, just as the voice, Beyonce, and there's all these things. And it's just like, yeah, you can make so much out of so many of these things that go on there. But yeah, I think didn't we have something? I think we had one in Maryland. Was it the Obama rally? And he had some, once again, a big headliner. They come and they line up for that, and as soon as that's done, most of the people leave.
All right.
And this
I saw Bruce Hornsby when I was covering Clinton, when Clinton was rallying in '92. He had Bruce Hornsby come out and play, and I'm like, sure, I'll go see Bruce Hornsby for free.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
worth it.
It's just, it's the same thing. I mean, Democrats have got tons of friends in Hollywood, in the music industry, in the film industry, and they'll come out and do that, and that'll help draw the crowd. But that's who people come to see. And once that's done, it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm done. I'm not here for the politics. I was just here to see if this guy will play a song or do something or other, and then I'm out of here.
That's right.
The Trump rallies, it doesn't really happen. I mean, even if he does have somebody famous, these people waited 5 or 6 hours online. They're not going anywhere.
Right. They're there to see Trump. They're not there to see Kid Rock or whoever, Lee Greenwood.
Right. You remember, go back even to Butler, Pennsylvania, when Trump got shot. He didn't move.
Yeah.
Right. People didn't come streaming and go screaming across out of there. They still were like, we don't know what happened, but I'm sitting.
Yeah. Is he going to talk some more?
I got a seat right behind Trump. I'm not giving up this seat.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a very different, kind of group of people, mentality that goes on. All right, predictions. Go ahead. What did you want to say?
Okay, so I just was going to roll through it and see what you think. President, who do you think?
Trump.
All right, I'm going to start writing these down so we can have something to laugh about in a few
minutes.
I say Trump. States, Virginia.
In terms of Trump versus Harris?
Yeah, who will carry Virginia?
I still think Harris gets it.
Okay. I think I agree. Georgia.
I'm going Trump.
I'm going Trump. We'll eventually disagree. North Carolina, looks like that's Trump, right? Yeah. They're pulling out. Pennsylvania.
I go Trump.
Go Trump there. Casey versus McCormick.
Ooh. I think Casey will eke it out, but boy, that's going to be close. I think that's tough.
Okay. I think that I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty optimistic about that one. I'm going to go McCormick.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And I want you to be right on that one for sure.
Yeah. Slotkin Rogers.
Interesting. I'm gonna go with Rogers. I mean, I think he could still pull this out.
I'm gonna go with Slotkin. I just haven't seen him get to the top.
Yeah.
Cruz Allred.
I'm going with Cruz.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I think that one's Rosen Brown. Nevada.
Yeah, I don't think she's a great candidate. I'm going to go with Brown.
Okay. And a bit of hopium, I will go Brown too.
Yeah.
Lake Gallego.
Arizona. I don't know. I still have my doubts about Lake. I'm going to go Gallego.
Until the last like 2 or 3 days, I would have agreed, but I'm going to go late. The voter registration there is so lopsided, and it's now so pro-Republican. I just don't think all those people signed up to vote Republican went out of their way to say I am a Republican and signing up to vote to help Ruben Gallego. I could be
Yeah, I
wrong.
know. I mean, that's the thing is that the Republicans have made a lot of inroads and made a lot of progress in Arizona. So hopefully that's enough. To me, my problem is I just worry about Lake as a candidate sometimes. But
Right. She's not a good candidate. Arizona overall, Trumper.
I think even though I went with Gallego, I think Trump can take this now.
Okay.
I think he should run
Georgia.
at the top of the ticket
We
and
said
she at
Georgia.
the second.
Michigan.
Michigan. Well, I'm going to give it to Trump only because I decided to go with wild card Rogers.
Okay. I'm for. I think Trump in Michigan too. Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I'm going to go Harris. I'm not sure that I'm not sure if we have enough there yet, but maybe.
Um,
I'm not sure the Senate race is enough to tip it.
I was going to say Hovde, Tammy Baldwin.
Yeah, I think Baldwin survives.
Okay. I think Trump wins the state, but Baldwin survives. Sherrod Brown, Bernie Moreno.
I'm going Moreno.
Yeah, he's had all the momentum for months now.
Yeah. If he loses, I'm going to be really disappointed.
What else is out there?
Montana?
Montana.
Yeah.
Tester Sheehy.
Yeah. I think Tester's toast.
Yeah, I do too.
Tester's it's all very alliteration. Tester's toast.
Tester's toast. 3 fingers. What else is out there? Michigan, Pennsylvania.
I think we got the major ones, right?
Yeah. Trump is ahead in New Jersey in early voting.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. I mean, yeah, I saw that this. So yeah, you better watch out.
Yeah. We were there Labor Day weekend, and we entered the state from like Philly, and we left through Cape May. So we went in about the middle and went down, right? So we didn't see the New York half of New Jersey. We saw the Philly half, and it was solidly pro-Trump. Right. That's why I have a hard time believing Pennsylvania won't go to Trump because, I don't think she's going to get the margins that she has to count on in Philly to do it. Right. She has, Philly, you've got to dominate. You got to win 90, 85, 90% of the vote to offset the rest of the state. And I don't see her getting 85 or 90%.
Well, you also have, I mean, once again, we've said this for a long time in terms of, a lot because, and we see this with the fact that there's so much of the early vote is already in, is that, they're fighting for a small sliver of undecided votes at this point in time.
Right.
But, I mean, Josh Shapiro is just, on the Biden comments, he criticized the Biden comments on the garbage, so you've got the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania criticizing the Democrat president of the United States about the remark he made, for which the president has tried to walk that back, for which CNN is not even buying the walk back excuse, with all of that. And so I think there's Democrats have got some real problems. I mean, just like you said, I mean, you're thinking McCormick might win there. I mean, that would be great. I mean, there may be enough Trump coattails to take McCormick with him, and there's no doubt that Casey is feeling the heat, right?
Right.
So,
he's put in a commercial that, I've worked with President Trump.
Yeah.
I can get stuff done with him on fracking. We did fracking together, me and Trump, fracking and across.
No, desperate Democrats all over the map. I mean, it is just unbelievable what we're seeing with that and trying to, retain seats or defeat Republicans. It's just something there. Yeah, I think this is the first time anybody's really put me on the record like you just have for election predictions. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out.
Everyone delete this after you watch it.
I think we're going to find that we're going to wind up being, pretty accurate on most of these calls, right?
Yeah.
I think that
too.
I think we'll wind up being there, and I definitely have, just couched some of my predictions there with this. There's going to be some close races that go either
Right.
way.
A
And a
lot
lot
of
of it, yeah, and the Senate races, a lot of that will depend a lot on whether or not Trump's got enough coattails or not to do it. So we
right.
shall see.
Because he's pulling 3 underdogs, right?
Yeah.
4 underdogs: Marino, uh, McCormick, Lake, and Howdy.
Yeah.
Right? If they gets those 4 people over, that is tremendous coattails. That's almost unheard of in modern politics.
Yeah, and I mean, I think no matter what, this tells me too is that Republicans gain control of the Senate. The House is still going to be a little bit tough, but I think they squeeze by.
I think they squeeze by. Okay, let's put those down too. Senate, we both say the Senate and House, we both say the Republicans will end up with.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to give a number on electoral votes?
Electoral votes. Yeah, I'm going to go above Atlas Intel a little bit. I'm gonna go. Let me see here. Let me just check something real quick. Where the heck am I? Where's this? When you know how it is. You can't find what you want to find. Did I drop it out here on? Oh yeah, wait. Here it is. Okay, hold it. So, Electoral College. So,
This is going to be a good one, y'all. You can probably bet on whatever he's about to say. He did some research.
No, I'm just taking a quick look at this. So I'm going to go a little bit above. I'm going to go to 305. How about that?
Okay. All right. Mine is 312.
Okay. So we're pretty darn close.
Been for a long time.
All right. That's pretty close. Yeah, I just. Yeah, my thing was that I looked at. This is based on 270 to win. I looked at their map and I added some of the other states in there with some safety margin. So yeah, I mean, I think Trump wins this, no matter what here. But all right, so we're getting a little short on time, but we still have a few things to talk about. I threw this one in there because we're both sports fans, and I didn't see this until this morning. But Doc Rivers' ad for Kamala. Did you see this ad?
I did not see the ad. I heard that that it existed.
Yeah, so I don't know. Let me see if I can do this or not.
Make it where we watch it.
Yeah, let me see if I can. How can I do this? I guess I should have. Okay, I have to learn how to do this. Like I can't do it now, but I can. Oh, where are you?
The other thing is like while you're looking, the Jeff Bezos. That's absolutely remarkable what has happened on newspaper endorsements in the last week, right? Since our last show, L.A. Times, Washington Post, USA Today have declined to endorse. Bezos went back a few days later and said we didn't endorse because we're losing touch with the American people and we're biased and we can't see our bias. And he was accused by Democrats of caving to Trump, because he has contracts and Trump will take his contracts or whatever. But the most, the most salient reason, right? Really, the obvious reason they didn't do it is because they hate Trump and they can't endorse Harris. They look at her, they listen to what she says, and they just can't put their name on a document that says that's who they recommend for president. But just a remarkable week of, ear cleaning by the by the leftist media.
Yeah, I'm gonna have between that someday. I'm gonna have to learn how to actually pull this thing in there so I can put it. I guess I have to save this somehow to my computer. So I'm not even gonna bother right now.
But what
But
does he say?
yeah, I don't know if can you hear that? If I do this, let me see what happens.
Whatever it is, I think it's a bad idea. I think the sports guys would understand, they give their endorsement on for such and such. Okay, I gotcha. You have a right to your opinion too, but I think that you
Well,
know,
he's got so Doc Rivers has got Westmore in there, and then Doug Emhoff, and it's just okay, guys. I'm the coach. You know, you got to do this, you got to do this, and then it's like it's just such a ridiculous ad. I mean, this goes back to what I've been commenting on for a while too, which is that the Harris campaign has got some of the most ridiculous ads. When they're trying to
yeah.
target certain groups of people, and you're like, I don't understand what this is for. And why
Did you
you're
see the
doing.
one where the guy's masturbating and he's watching porn on his phone?
Oh
And
yeah,
like,
I just saw that this
I'm the
morning.
Republican congressman. I'm taking away your porn. It's like, that's what you're going? Yeah. Bob will be walking the halls, looking at everybody's office to see if there's something.
Yeah, that's
I
serious.
mean, you got to suffer a lot. Every once in a while, it ought to be fun.
There's gonna be blood in the streets in higher academia. I mean, they're gonna be going
That's
nuts.
right.
It's just like it's gonna be bad. Yeah, that thing that you're pointing out too. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like what are the Democrats thinking when they run these ads?
Right. That's right.
And and the last ad to talk about too was just this progressive Democrat group, that put out this ad for to defeat what is his name again? David Valadao. Anyway,
Lidio.
he's in a tough race, right, in California. He's going to face,
Right.
and their ad is basically talking about these Democrats talking about he voted to impeach Donald Trump, and all this
Right.
stuff. And
He's the only one left.
yeah, and they're trying to couch this as like, they're supporting him by using the Democrats are supporting by using the Trump, that he voted for the Trump impeachment and all this kind of stuff to try to boost the other guy, his opponent, and all this stuff. And just like, okay, how desperate are you when you have to start doing that thing? But it goes.
That's a lot of explaining for a political ad. I mean, political ad, it's bang them over the head.
It goes to what you were saying before, though. I mean, the Democrats, they're doing these odd things, right? I mean, they're hypocrites,
Yeah.
right? They're hypocrites, and that the ad that they ran for him is also very hypocritical at this point too. All right. Just go ahead and take us out now. I think we did a lot.
Okay, we did do a lot. Whoopi Goldberg is nuts. I think she's really gone over the deep end. The Jaden Daniels Hail Mary. I told you the Commanders were getting something special there, and it certainly has been. The over under for the win total for the Commanders in Vegas this year was 6.5. They're at 6. So they got to win 1 out of their last 9 games for the over bettors to cash. So something to think about there. What a great player. I'm glad that they got him. I wish my Cowboys would make a change at quarterback too. But it looks like that's going to be what it is. Also, the sweetest thing about the Puerto Rico was the senator coming out and endorsing Trump.
And then I saw a video clip of like Puerto Ricans for Trump, honking their horns and everything like this.
Yeah. Like, lighten up, D's. It'll be all right.
All right. Very good. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Please, I'm going to say first, have a happy Halloween if you like Halloween. I don't know if I'm going to see it. I don't even know if I'm going to see 10 kids, but we got some candy nevertheless. But if you come after 8 o'clock, I'm probably going to be in bed. So take that. And my wife will probably fall asleep in front of the TV, so forget it. The porch light will be off. You're out of luck after 8. So come early if you want any candy, but we rarely see any kids in our neighborhood anymore. This is also that demographic that's changing, right? Fewer kids. We just don't see them anymore. But have that. And it's also National Candy Corn Day. Got to throw that in. All right, everybody have a great time. I'll just close it there. God bless
Vote,
you.
vote,
And
vote.
see you. Go vote. We'll see you again next week.